Between 1776 and 1789, the United States of America emerged as an independent country, creating and ratifying its new constitution, and establishing its national government. In order to assert their traditional rights, American patriots seized control of the colonies and launched a war for independence. The Americans declared independence on July 4, 1776, proclaiming all men are created equal. Congress raised the Continental Army under the command of General George Washington, forged a military alliance with France, and defeated the two main British invasion armies. Nationalists replaced the governing Articles of Confederation to strengthen the federal government's powers of defense and taxation with the Constitution of the United States of America in 1789, still in effect today. During the 17th and 18th centuries, the British colonies in America had been largely left to their own devices by the Crown. It was called salutary neglect. The colonies were thus largely self-governing. Half the white men in America could vote, compared to 1% in Britain. They developed their own political identities and systems which were in many ways separate from those in Britain. This new ideology was a decidedly Republican political viewpoint, which rejected royalty, aristocracy, and corruption and called for sovereignty of the people, and emphasized civic duty. On 1763, with British victory in the French and Indian War, this period of isolation came to an end with the Stamp Act of 1765. The British government began to impose taxes in a way that deliberately provoked the Americans, who complained that they were alien to the unwritten English Constitution, because Americans were not represented in Parliament. Parliament said the Americans were virtually represented, and had no grounds for complaint. 2-3 From the Stamp Act of 1765 onward, disputes with London escalated. By 1772 the colonists began the transfer of political legitimacy to their own hands, and started to form shadow governments built on committees of correspondence that coordinated protest and resistance. They called the First Continental Congress in 1774 to inaugurate a trade boycott against Britain. 13 colonies were represented at the Congress. The other British colonies were under tight British control, and did not rebel. 4-5 When resistance in Boston culminated in the Boston Tea Party in 1773 with the dumping of taxed tea shipments into the harbor, London imposed the Intolerable Acts on the colony of Massachusetts, ended self-government, and sent in the army to take control. The patriots in Massachusetts and the other colonies readied their militias, and prepared to fight.